Hello again, everyone. It's Randy here in Oklahoma, and I wanted to talk just for a brief minute about what the rally in Washington, D.C. on Be Free in 23 means for me. But first, I would like to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is why I'm even back. Because for those of you who used to watch me, I know it's been a couple of years since I took my videos down off of the YouTube channel. And I told everyone I was going to be hanging the whistle up, and I did for 2 years. But I decided that I wanted to go ahead and go to that rally mainly because I wanted to maybe see some friends there, some that I've never met in person, maybe meet some new friends, and I did just that. Over the years, though, when I took my videos down, a lot of people, everyone understood and they were kind to me, but a lot of people urged me, please think about this. You helped us so much. Please put up the videos or at least make videos about other interests that you have, that you might be involved in, like your aviation enthusiasm. So I've been thinking of that, and that started motivating me a little bit, but really this rally in DC motivated me a lot. First of all, let me say why I took the channels down for those of you who are maybe new to this channel. Is I took them down because and I'm not going to name her name, but I have a Jehovah's Witness daughter that is shunning our whole family, my wife and myself and her sisters and her aunt, and anyway, all this stuff. And I thought, well, if I quit being an activist and quit speaking out uh, publicly, perhaps maybe she might soften up and come back to us. But that's why I had mixed feelings about going to this rally. I was actually thinking, well, I might just show up wearing a Halloween mask so nobody would recognize me. And I'm glad I didn't do that, because what really was encouraging to me to this rally at this rally was it wasn't it wasn't there to just ranting about Jehovah's Witnesses. It was about any religion, any organization that's not even religious, that's doing something inhumane. So it's about humanity. Well, what was unique about this rally? They called it a protest. I don't want to call it a rally. It was for humanity, not against just one religion. That meant they stressed that all religions should be allowing this, to stop the shunning, not being telling their members they have to shun. They should stop the hiding of pedophiles. They should be mandatory. We chanted that mandatory. All 50 states, reporting this. We chanted, don't just protect our children, not your reputation. Protect our children, not your reputation. And so, some wonderful speakers there. And I held up a sign about how Watchtower, destroys families. It's a long banner that Rick Farron brought. I appreciate that, Rick, that you provided us with those signs. Um, I held that up because in my case, that was the situation. Okay, now I could only hold that banner so with my age and for so many hours and standing. I said, well, I got to go sit down. So I walked back over to the sidewalk and sit there against the fence with the White House behind me, and straight in front of me, I'm seeing the speakers because I wanted to hear their speeches. I mean, it's wonderful speeches, and I could do that. But talking about their speeches, how this motivated me. Some of these people, you could tell it was a difficult thing for them to do. They were very brave people because many of them are victims, were victims, and they you could tell they were nervous, but they did a wonderful job in telling everything. And they even said, we don't like, one person said, this is not something we like talking about. This is something we'd rather just forget. But who's going to give these people, these children, who's going to give these kids a voice? They don't have a voice now if we don't. Who's going to give these victims that have died of suicide? See, and that's it. We have lots of dear friends that have died from suicide because of shunning practice, and as well as we have lots of friends that were abused, and the abuser was never reported, and so he went on and became a serial pedophile. And this here message that I got from listening to the speakers was, give these people, give these victims a voice who don't have a voice. Our friends that have died because of suicide, they don't have a voice anymore. But I'm going to stand up and be their voice now. Now I'm going to be careful. I'm going to be a voice also for the victims and try to get mandatory reporting any way I can. I'm going to tell everybody about it, how it's not mandatory in all 50 states. I'm going to tell them about the 2-witness rule that Jehovah's Witness has and what that's all about. I'm going to be careful though in my videos. I'm not going to put any video about my daughter, her personal life. I just don't want that out there because I don't want any haters to come along. Most people are not that way, but occasionally you'll have somebody come along and talk despairingly about a Jehovah's Witness that would treat with the treatment and stuff, and I don't want that because I believe in my heart that my daughter still loves me. I don't want to be told by some that she doesn't. Okay, so I'm going to put these videos back up. As a matter of fact, when I was there, the first person I saw says, take your sunglasses off. So I took my sunglasses off, and she said, yeah, with you talking, I know you. I used to watch your videos. You helped me back in 2017 or so when I was first coming out. And of course, most of the people there are probably newer ones that at that rally that never even heard of me. But I had some other people come up that knew me, that we were Facebook friends, some that was aviation enthusiasts like myself. And so that was a great thing to meet those people. But I got to tell you, one for me, what meant a lot to me, because people would say, hey, before we went, do you think you're really going to do any good? And all I could say, I said, well, I don't know. I'll get to meet people. And then during this speech and everything, I thought, well, what if it doesn't do any good? At least it's doing more good than us not talking at all, because these victims need these people without a voice, these children without a voice, these ones who have passed because of suicide, their voices, we need to give them a voice. And that's what I'm thinking. But guess what? While I'm over there tired, sitting on there's a little place you can sit on, a little curb set up so high about the size of a seat, that had behind it was the fence that was all in front of the White House. And I'm sitting there holding a little bitty sign that says, Watchtower, stop your shunning. Big stop, a little stop sign on it, but a little bitty, like a sheet of paper, 8x11 sheet of paper. And I'm just holding it while I'm looking straight ahead, listening to the ones giving the talk. And I had no idea that somebody would approach me. Later, I heard there was different people doing this to many of the ones who were there for this protest, coming up and asking them. So this lady, very, very young woman, very well dressed, looked like a professional, came up to me and she says, excuse me, but what's going on here? Well, what's this about over here? And well, first of all, I got to say, well, I went back and played back the tape. It just so happened the camera on the speaker was facing right toward where I was sitting. So you could see this young woman. She wasn't just walking past and stopped. That's what I initially thought. She actually approached me, from this way, asked me that after we got through quite a long time of discussion. She went right back the same way she came. So anyway, if I can find the clip to the video, I might put it up along with this too, so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. I explained to her how we wanted mandatory reporting in all 50 states, how that's not the case now. How inside our organization, Jehovah's Witnesses, they have the 2-witness rule, that unless a second witness to that child abuse was there, they're not going to do anything, and they certainly won't be reporting it to the police. So I mentioned to her, and this woman was you could tell by her facial expression, she was very moved by what I was saying to her. I said, this isn't just for the children we want to protect in this organization. This is for people like in your community. Because like if you've got children out there, and this individual was a serial pedophile that had already, the elders knew about, but yet they didn't go to the police, then there's going to be no sexual registry. He's not going to have to register as a sexual offender. So nobody would know. He might be working at your school, driving your school bus for your children, who knows? I mean, it's not like I say. They brought out. It's not just religion. Look at the coaches and the Olympic coaches and the Boy Scouts and all. There's problems with this everywhere. So the important thing is it needs to it needs to have a mandatory reporting. Is what most of us feel like on this. Well, I stood up and I walked over just a step or two to show her. There was this huge banner, and I don't know who brought this banner, but it had all of these great big pictures, life-size headshots, mug shots of pedophiles. And the one on the top left-hand corner, guess what? That was somebody I knew, our whole family knew very well. It was Ronnie Lawrence from McAllister, Oklahoma. And so I told that young woman that. I said, not only was he a serial pedophile that the elders knew about and would not report him, and he was able to keep hurting child after child after child. My wife grew up with his son. His son killed himself. We had no idea what. Now we understand what his son had went through being abused. Now the son was an adult when he had killed himself. Matter of fact, that later his son's own son came up to me at a convention and said, heard you knew my dad. Can you tell me about it? So about him, and we'd say, oh yeah, he was a wonderful man. We didn't know these circumstances then. I didn't get into all that with the lady. I just explained to her that I knew that pedophile, and that's why it's important to have mandatory reporting. And then I told her too about the shunning. There was people there holding up these little handmade signs, and I appreciate them taking the time because that means a lot to actually write on there. One man says, my brother died from suicide because of the shunning. And I told this young woman, I said, that kind of touches us here because we've had a lot, not only this pedophile son, we've had a lot of other people that we've loved. And one in particular was a woman that my wife grew up with, a childhood friend. And we after we were married, my wife and I, and this friend of hers was married, we'd go on vacations together. Even before we had children, after we had children, we'd go on vacations together. And then what happened is this one this child she had was being sexually abused, and the elders told the parents, don't go to the police. They ordered the parents not to go to the police. And so very, very sad situation when that baby was, and I'll call her a baby. I'm going to put the first YouTube channel. I haven't even told you guys this yet, but I'm going to put my YouTube channels back up, and I'm going to try to watch them to make sure that, it's nothing talking personal about my daughter, but I want to put up everything like this story that I'm just telling you so that you can actually read this young woman's, the one who killed herself. You can read the poem that she wrote and the agonizing hell she must have went through trying to get justice for her daughter. See, her daughter, when she became an adult, she decided she didn't want anything to do with that religion. So she left and gave them, a letter saying, I don't want to be this anymore. And so that meant her mama had to be shunning her. Well, my daughter, as some of you know, is a musician. So she grew up with my daughter. So we reached out to this girl. And she first was kind of thought, well, we wouldn't want to have anything to do with her, knowing that she's disassociated. We're not supposed to talk to her. But we reached out. We were still active witnesses then, Jehovah's Witnesses. And we told her, we said, we're still witnesses, but we've stopped this shunning practice. This is inhumane, and we're not going to be shunning anybody. We'd like you to know that. We'd like you to come to this little festival that my daughter's singing at. Would you come? And she said, yeah. So we called her mom up, my wife's childhood friend. We said, hey, your daughter's going to be there. We'd like to invite you to come. We've stopped the shunning. It's up to you if you're going to want to stop it. Well, guess what? To our elation, she stopped the shunning. She came there, had a good time. She later went out and did more things with her daughter, had her daughter over her house. And then she's got a son that at the time he had twins, and they were almost 16. And they come there, these young girls. At the same time, their aunt was there, the disassociated one. Well, guess what? our friend was told, if we ever catch you here again seeing your daughter, you're never going to see these twins, these grandchildren of yours. So that's what I told this woman this. I said, how in the world can you choose between, your own grandchildren or your own daughter? I mean, it's an impossible choice. And it was for this Jehovah's Witness lady. She was not disfellowshipped. She was an active witness. On November 13th, she killed herself, right after that happened. And so anyway, it was hard for me to tell that to this lady, because I get choked up every time. Matter of fact, in that video, I hope I'm a terrible speaker, and I hope that me getting choked up and maybe teary-eyed and everything doesn't affect the message. But I told that I can't remember what else I told to the lady. I was probably talking maybe 8, 9, 10 minutes, something like that. And she says, okay, I've got to go. She held up a sack. I've got the sack on. But she introduced herself to me. She told me her name. And after she left, I kept wondering, I wonder if she's a senator or a congresswoman, or I didn't know, being there in that area. And she did tell me where she's from Arkansas. So I thought, well, I'm going to look up who she is and maybe see. Well, she wasn't a senator or congressperson. But I tell you what, she is a very, very important person that fights every day in her job. She fights for human rights. She was an attorney that is also the director, I guess you call that, the head of ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union. So you never know who's gonna learn just because of us being there. And this lady here learned. And I'm going to follow up. I'm not going to badger her or anything, but I'm going to send her a brief email. And since she is a public figure, thank her for her time and her interest in asking about this, and let her know that any of us in this community would be glad to help any way we can, because it's not for like one religion. It's for all humanity. People that's living here of all different faiths, beliefs, whatever that might be, all different, area organizations that could be in. We need to have more humanity. And so I will ask you guys a favor. If you could, I may have already asked this, I don't know, at my age I sometimes forget whether I'm just thinking it or whether I've already asked it, but watch my videos for me. And because many of you have never even heard of this channel of mine, but if you guys could watch them and leave in the comments if there's anything in the video that you think might be mentioning my daughter, or might be alarming to my daughter. I'm going to try to watch it the best I can, but if I overlook something, please let me know so I can take it back down. I certainly want to put that one with our friend that wrote the poem, our friend who committed suicide. The one it was like our family. I mean, her daughter is now was always like our family, but now we're even closer. She lost her dad too, not very long right after losing her mom, but it wasn't to do with the suicides. Anyway, I'm going to put that up there. The next video, I'm just going to do one or two at a time. One I think is very important is the research I did on Stockholm syndrome, and I think that's very important thing for people to see. It's a paper that I read from a psychologist, and explains it all, explains why people do the things they do, yet to their loved ones, to the ones that they love. And it makes a lot of sense. I mean, and it's not just the Stockholm syndrome. It's not just in the case of religion or bank robbery where they take captives. It could be in any controlling situation like a marriage or whatever. But I'm going to put this up there. I'm going to put a clip too right at the end of this. I'm going to end this with a clip. And the clip is going to be at that rally with my daughter telling just a really short message of, her message and her story and her beliefs. And please leave a post something in the comments. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.
Hey everyone, I'm Andrea. We're here at the White House and we just had a great protest. We're sorry for everybody that couldn't be here, but while I was there, I was inspired because I got thinking. We were talking about being shunned. I'm pretty lucky. I do have a sister that shuns me, but my mom, my dad, my younger sister, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, we're all out. We're all free. But it still doesn't fill the void that my sister and my nephews that I've never got to meet, that hole is there. But then I have friends who have nobody. I was just talking to a friend last night who is completely alone because of being in the cult, jumped right into an abusive relationship, and then is completely alone when he's out of that. And so it made me think of all those people's loss greater than mine. But then when we're talking about we're coming together, but there's some people who can't even show their faces. And then it made me think, I have friends who are out, and I don't know if anybody else experiences this, but I have friends who are out, they're disfellowshipped, they're completely living their lives. They have no reason to be worried about the Watchtower. But that, even though I'm out too, I've tried reaching out to them, and it's like I get ghosted from these friends. It's not like we live in the same state or even the same country, some of them, but we grew up together. We were best friends as children, and we were fine at first when we left, but then all of a sudden I started noticing this distance, and I asked, like, what did I do? Like, there's something that I did? Because if I did anything, I'm sorry. These people I've shunned when they left before me, and I think the guilt, like, from that, it tears at me, and is that why they're not able to be my friend? And so I finally get an answer, and it's like, no, it's not that. You are the most loving person that I know. But even being around you brings back the pain, and I can't stand the pain from the trauma. I'm trying to live a healthy life, but I get triggered from anybody from that old life being in my life. And I don't know if anybody else has experienced that, but it just dawned on me here that even though the shunning maybe they're not even being shunned by us, the people that they don't even have to shun or are not even shunning them, the emotional damage that this organization causes prevents you from even being able to be friends and be around somebody that you loved that was in the same situation as you. So that's what I wanted to say, and it's got to stop.